Today, as we listen to the gospel, we hear about God doing what God does best. In the very person of Jesus, he heals Peter's mother-in-law. But wait. What's the story say? She immediately got up and waited on them. Of course Jesus healed her. There were 12 men there that needed someone to cook for them. I would think that coming back from a serious illness, or even like last week's gospel, being freed of the unclean spirit, or being healed, might deserve something more, something great or something famous. Being Jesus' executive secretary, something better than waiting on them. But what she does is she gets up and she cooks them a meal. Jesus reached out, lifted her up, being raised, awakened from her sleep in that fever, to be the person that she was always meant to be. Now you're probably thinking, but you mean she was meant to be a servant? For Jesus, it's really about a different way of life. In our interpretation of the world, the goal is to reach the point where we move up the ladder, isn't it? We can move up the ladder from servant to being the one being served. That's kind of what we would like in our society. That's the way our society is formed. And then we say, after all, haven't we earned it? We've worked hard. We spend our whole life working to get out of doing more, don't we? I think we do. And we work, hopefully, to the point where we don't have to work. And then we call that retirement. We don't want to settle just for a service job. We have service windows that we can go up to. We have service stations that we can pull into. We have food service companies that wait on us. And we look at all that and we say, but that's all for the waiters and the waitresses. After all, we call them servers. No offense. We call them servers. But for Jesus, service is a higher calling, a much higher calling. And it's more than a spiritual meaning. So you see, we can spiritualize all this in church, and then we can walk outside, and then we can go back to our ordinary way of life. And Jesus says, no, that's not the way it works. Service is really a higher calling. It's more, and it has, as I said, more than a spiritual or out-of-the-world meaning. Serving others for Jesus is an attitude. It's an attitude and a way of life. And you know what? It happens when we allow Jesus to come into our life. It happens when we meet Jesus in the unknown or the forgotten Christ that sometimes walks our streets and is homeless. The one who is forgotten in our own families, in our own homes. That's service. It's what happens when we are really touched by the person of Jesus. And we know that Jesus has touched not only our life, not only our body, but our mind and our spirit, and has touched our heart, has reached into our hearts and transformed us. And we feel that transformation taking place, and we know that we're made whole. We're not possessed, as we said last week, by anything that dominates our life. We're free. We're free because we know that we stand near the Lord himself. And the Lord himself is the one who guides us and becomes the model. So for Jesus, the whole system is reversed. Serving others is our mission. That's why we come to church. That's why we're here. For no other reason. We are here because we share in God's project. We share in God's mission. If we don't want to do that, if we don't want to share in God's project, then it doesn't do us much good to be here. Because it really is all about service, learning how to be a servant. So Christ the servant is the model for us, who came not to be served, but to serve. And I really believe that just like Jesus, when we come to that understanding, it's what we do best.